Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to continue working on our Tamiya Lotus Europa Special RC Car Kit. Today we're going to work on steps 23 through 25, which is to install the rest of the electronics. For step 23, we're going to test everything and install the servo horn. For step 24, we're going to mount the servo into the chassis. And for step 25, we're going to install the receiver, ESC, the power switch, and connect the ESC to the motor. Then we'll finish up with some cable management. Let me show you the electronics we're going to be working with. For the transmitter receiver, I'm going to be using the Sanwa M-06. Of course, I'm going to use the Hobbywing 1060 ESC that came in the box. I'm going with the SPT low profile servo again. And for testing purposes, I'm going to use this Tenergy nickel metal hydride battery. And don't forget, we have the Tamiya 540J motor already installed. So let's start on step 23. We're going to connect everything and run some tests. Let's start by plugging the battery into the ESC. Next, I'm going to bring in the receiver and plug the ESC into the second slot. And bring in the servo and insert it in the first slot. Alright. And the last thing I'm going to do is connect the ESC with the motor. The blue wire connects to the green wire, and the two yellow wires go together. Alright, all the electronics are connected together. Let's bring in the transmitter. The ESC is already on for some reason, so let's test the servo first. I'm sure you can hear and see the servo move already. Let's try testing the motor. Forward. Reverse. I think we're good. I'm going to unplug the servo while I put together the servo horn. Looking at the servo this way, we need to install the servo horn at 15 degrees off center. To put together the servo horn, we need to find the right size screw. Then we need to find P1, A3, which is the servo horn, P4, and P5 or P6, depending on your servo spline count. My servo uses P5. After some test fitting, I figured out my servo uses this silver screw. Let's find the plastic pieces we need from the P parts tree. This is P1, and A3 is actually in this other tree. It's that piece right there. That's P4, and I'm going to use P5. I forgot about this BB6 ball connector. It's going to be easier if we put it on A3 first. It screws on the flat side. I'm just going to start this by hand and finish it with the cross wrench. That connects to the end of the drag link, so it's very important. Make sure it's on straight and tight. I have the rest of the servo saver parts here. So we're going to start with the screw and put it through this plastic washer P1. Then the servo horn. And when we turn it over, you're going to notice there's a bar here. I don't know if you can see that. That's going to index onto this notch in P4. It's symmetrical, so we can put it on either side. So we're going to line it up and pry it open with two thumbs. And then press down on it. May need to give it a couple tries, but it's possible. We're going to line up P5 the same way. This goes here. And we're just going to snap them together. Now let's plug in the servo and give it power. We want to make sure it's centered. Then we'll bring in the transmitter and check the steering trim. Make sure it's set to 0. There we go. Now we can put the servo horn on at approximately 15 degrees. I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks pretty good. Now let's fasten it with the screw we picked out. That looks pretty good. Let's double check it. Step 23 done. We can move on to 24. Now we're ready to mount the servo. We're going to need A5, which is this piece right here, and also A1, which is this piece. Here they are. Now let's find the hardware. We need everything in this left margin. These are the two BC1s. These are the two BC3s. And these are the four BC6. We also need to find four BC8 washers. Let's put A5 on the servo first. I have BA6 here ready with the washer. I'm going to rotate A5 this way with these two holes towards the servo. When you're done, it should look like this. This is A1. These long BC3 screws will go through it and fasten the servo to the chassis. A1 does have a top and bottom. You see that notch there? That faces down so the servo cable can pass through. It's hard to see, but that cable is in the notch. I'm going to put the servo in its place and screw it down. I'm going to do the same for the front side. We're done mounting the servo. Next we need to put on the electronics tray, B5. This is where we're going to mount the receiver and ESC. B5 is right here. And it goes on top here, like this, secured by two screws from the bottom. Make sure these screws are tight. There you go. Now we're done with step 24. Let's move on to 25. We probably should have threaded the servo cable across this chassis first. It's going to be more difficult now, but I think I can do it without removing the servo. We need to get the wire through this hole. Alright, we got it through both holes and across the chassis. The receiver is going to sit in front, and the ESC will sit towards the back, close to the motor wires. We're going to use the double-sided tape that came with the kit. For the receiver, I just need to cut a little bit off. There's no need to measure, just eyeball it is fine. I am really bad at peeling tape. So we're just going to set this on the tray and press down. We'll do the ESC the same way. It's always a struggle. Okay, let's see what we're going to do with the switch. I usually like to clip it on the side of the ESC, but we don't have enough room in this situation. Let me tape down the ESC first. The manual has the switch taped onto here, so that's what I'm going to do. Alright, that looks pretty solid. Now let's connect the motor wires to the ESC. We're going to connect the blue wire to the green and the yellow to the yellow. These wires are really short. I can't really route them anywhere. I need to figure out where to secure the wires so it doesn't interfere with the wheels. Now let's plug everything back into the receiver. Let's make sure everything still works. Everything looks good. Alright, let's connect the drag link to the servo. We need to tape down the servo cable where it crosses the battery tray. And we're going to use this silver tape. It doesn't tell you the size, so I'm going to cut a piece that's 1 inch wide. Need to make sure the cable is flat against the chassis. The tape is already in the right length to go over the battery tray. It's not perfect, but it'll work. Alright, the last thing we need to do is to tidy up the wires. So I'm going to do some cable management off camera. Okay, so all I did was to tie these two wires together. And I also tied the motor wires to the damper stay. Now I want to tie all these cables together. Alright, today we finished installing all of the electronics. I hope you enjoyed this video. Click the like button below and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.